Economists predicted, the report raising the total number of jobless claims to 26 million since we were told to stay at home and stop being productive. Let's bring in Sarah Sanders. Sarah, last week 5.2, now 4.4 million. A lot of these people applying for unemployment benefits in money that we had to print in order to put into states that aren't equipped to really handle this type of volume. This seems like a lose-lose-lose situation.
Look, there's no doubt about it that this has been difficult for so many American families. It's why the president has been right to focus both on saving lives and on saving livelihoods. It's why it's so important that we look at ways to help protect Americans. For many people, a job loss is a devastating blow to their family, to their way of life, to their ability to feed their family. And it's also one of the reasons that it's been so frustrating to watch Nancy Pelosi drag her feet on getting emergency funding for small businesses to help a lot of these workers out in this really difficult time. At the end of the day, we have to look at how we can safely return Americans back to work. And while those that are the most vulnerable, most at risk, we have to look at ways we can protect them even further because they can't go back to work. The president has been smart to allow states flexibility because what works in New York is not necessarily going to work in Arkansas. Giving those governors flexibility to make some of those decisions, working with them, while at the same time trying to help provide resources to help American workers. That's what we have to look at, how we can best do that.
Well, most people would want to go back to work. They want to make a paycheck. AOC is urging a work boycott. Listen to this.
When we talk about this idea of reopening society, only in America does the president, when the president tweets about liberation, does he mean go back to work? When we, have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that. We're not going back to working 70-hour weeks just so that we could put food on the table and not even feel any sort of semblance of security in our lives.
Sarah?
This is the same Congresswoman who just last week was celebrating the devastation of the oil and gas industry and the hundreds of thousands of jobs that are tied to that because she hoped it would provide momentum for her Green New Deal. This is also a person who may want to go back to her roots and remember that most Americans, unlike those in Congress, have to show up in order to get paid, and that they don't have the luxury of not doing their job and still being able to provide for her family like she does as a member of Congress. There are people that are really hurting. The president is looking for ways to protect them, to help them. She might want to join in that effort instead of putting people down who are struggling and trying to figure out how best to help their families and provide that food. She might want to go back and remember that when she was a bartender and not a member of Congress, she didn't have that luxury. She had to show up to do her job in order to get a paycheck, and there are millions of Americans that are like that need that paycheck, not just for the money, but also their sense of sanity and their ability to be able to get out and do what they do best, and that's work hard, because that's who the American people are. And her totally out of touch lack of understanding of that is just mind-blowing.
All right, Sarah Sanders joining us from her location. Sarah, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.